Hey everybody, I'm your host of LTTL Outdoors, Isaac Duranlo, and on today's episode, I talked to local outdoor professionals and asked them who got them involved in the outdoors.
I think I got inspired in my mother's womb. No, just... my grandfather probably inspired me the most because he took me rabbit hunting when I was 10 years old, when I could go, when I could carry a gun. But my father inspired me in the outdoors because from the time I was a little shaver, I could carry a toy gun and go deer hunting with him, fishing, doing everything in the outdoors. So it's a family thing, you know. You got to pass it on to the next generation.
I certainly can. My dad hunted way before I was born, and he was probably my biggest inspiration that I had. Of course, we have to thank God for everything that we have. But my father was my biggest inspiration. Took me up when I was just a little boy and got me into some of those places where those deer were, and I got so excited about it. The first year I was able to hunt, I never slept all night. I was awake all night. But I have to credit my father and the good Lord, of course. Larry Benoit also helped. His book that he wrote there in the early 70s put everything together for me.
When I got started in the interested in hunting and started, going outdoors more and more on my own, I did read a lot of books. Actually, one of the first books I read was Hal Blood's book. He's really inspired me. He's very easy to talk to. He's very easy to read through any article that he writes. So he really, really inspired me to get out there and know that I could do it. So he would probably be one of my biggest inspirations. When I met my husband is one of the best trackers I've ever met. He also inspires me. He inspires me every deer season. His persistence is second to none. So I think that's been something that I really look up to.
Well, my dad got me started when I was just a young fella. Of course, I grew up in the woods when I was a kid. I hunted and fished, and when I was old enough to hold a fish pole, and I started shooting a gun when I was old enough to hold a gun up. So for me it was easy because I grew up in the woods when I was a kid because I loved the woods, and every chance I had just about I was in the woods or I was fishing. I used to take my pedal bike and I'd pedal all the way to Mad River to go fishing all by myself, and I was just a little guy. So I spend all day fishing over there. And a lot of times when I went brook trout fishing by myself or with some friends, we used to catch a bunch of brook trout, and if we were going to make a day out of it, we never brought no lunch with us. We'd just cook up a bunch of brookies right side the brook.
Yeah, when I was a teenager in high school and stuff, I worked in the woods logging in the summertime, and I worked with an old guy in his 60s, retired, and every lunch break and break time, he's like, "You got to go to Alaska, boy," and he was a big-time deer hunter himself, and but he got into turkey hunting after he was older and stuff, and all of that, and I can just remember every day at lunchtime, got to go to Alaska, because he drove his family up there in '54, but his wife didn't want to stay, so he came back here to Vermont. But no, and that was that. But I grew up hunting too in Vermont, and always enjoyed it, and so that he was my biggest one that encouraged me to do all that. Plus, seeing Larry Benoit on the TV.
yeah, definitely. Well, for me to get involved in the outdoors, a lot of it was passed down from my father. Obviously, I hunted with my brother. But I will tell you, I think it's so important with kids today to stay away from the televisions as far as seeing these big bucks killed from tree stands and thinking that's the way it is. They got to get out and small game hunt. That's where they learn how to hunt. They'll graduate into being deer hunters. Small game is what they need to do.
The first person that inspired me was my dad. My dad started taking me fishing when I was probably 8 or 9, and then I'm from Maine, and in Maine you can hunt when you're 10 years old, so he started taking me hunting at 10. So my dad was my first inspiration. He taught me how to be a woodsman, how to navigate with a compass. And when I was 13 years old, I read a book that Larry Benoit wrote, How to Bag the Biggest Buck of Your Life. And more than anything, it just gave me the idea that if somebody really wanted to, they could shoot big bucks on a regular basis if they learned the woodsman skills necessary to do that. So he was a big influence. And then as I got older, I started my guide business. I became good friends with Hal Blood, and we both were running guide businesses, and Hal's been a big influence on me. Hal's 10 years older than I am, and he always gave me good advice in the guide business, and now we're friends and we hunt together.
I would say when I was a kid, I used to sit around and listen to my uncles and my dad and my older brother, which is about 10, 11 years older than me, and I used to listen to their deer stories at night, and it just made me want to deer hunt too.
Absolutely. Well, my father was a big deer hunter, and he was hunted every year. Many years when I was a little kid, he'd shoot a buck the first morning. And as soon as I got old enough, when I was 14 years old, he started taking me hunting with him. And then my uncle, my mother's brother, also was a big deer hunter. So between the two of them, you know, everybody was excited about deer hunting every year. And so by the time you got old enough where you could go, you really wanted to go.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
And so that was the inspiration, is to have, you know, somebody that hunts willing to take, you know, children out in the woods with them to hunt with them, and to show them all the different aspects of you know, wildlife and habitat, so that they have an interest and can, you know, enjoy what they see when they get out there.
Yeah. So for me, you know, first of all, my dad and a couple of my uncles, they really got me into fishing when I was younger. And then it seemed like my dad got pretty busy and working and stuff like that, but I kept it going. And then there was actually a group of commercial fishermen and a person that run a bait shop down on Bombazine. His name, Tom Vladyka, the great Tom's bait shop down on Lake Bombazine. So I grew up, you know, with those guys and Tom. And then the Beyonds were a group of commercial fishermen that fished around the lake. So these guys are fishing for money. So if they went out and they didn't have a good day, they didn't make any money that day. So they kind of took me under their wing, which, you know, a lot of these older folks, they kind of keep to their own and stuff. So I really got to fish with them. I got to learn things that they learned their whole lives at a young age. And then, you know, they kind of fished in their old ways without electronics or anything like that. Well, me being younger, and as things started developing with electronics, I started applying this and that with them. And it just made for good fishing. So for me, it's, you know, it started out as my dad getting me going. And then as I got older, you know, the Beyond family and Tom Vladyka and stuff, they really was what, you know, pushed me along growing through. Now, I run a tournament series, Vermont Sportsman's Hardwire Tournament Series, and we do a free kids clinic every year. And the 31st at Mallett's Bay is going to be a free kids clinic. The kids come, I give them a free fishing pole. I give them yak tracks for their feet, and then after the tournament series, all the guys that want to help out and the pros, they go back out and they take the kids out and they show them electronics and stuff like that. So all these guys are all ambassadors for the sport, and they're all taking the kids out. So I think that's neat. I think it's a very important part. If we don't take our younger generation out and show them what this is all about, show them the electronics. We have video games out on the ice. You know, our Vexlar, that's my video game system. You know, if we don't all do this, there's going to be nobody like me. And I'm the like middle generation. There's older guys that are getting up there in their age. They're the ones that I saw do all this. You know, so we have to fill those roles. If you want it to be the way it was when we grew up, we all need to step up, everybody, and we need to inspire 1, 2, 3, however many kids that you can, because everyone you inspire, even if it's just one, is just one more that might do what we do and get to appreciate it better. So that's where I'm at.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure to like and comment below telling me what video you want to see next. Also, you can support the channel by liking us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/LTTL Outdoors. Also, make sure to follow us on both Instagram and Twitter at LTTL Outdoors, and finally subscribe below to stay tuned for more episodes. Thanks for watching again, and until next time, long tines and tight lines.